Hello, everyone. I would say good morning because it's morning here, but I don't know what time it is where you are watching. My name is Anna. I am a trained doula, and I have made just a few videos about with doula content in them, but my passion is that everyone would have access to this information, and so I hope that you are coming here curious and ready to just learn a little bit. Today I wanted to be talking about, and I don't know if I'll be able to talk about it with my little man here beating on the table. Can you clap, clap, clap? Yeah, clap, clap, clap. But today I wanted to talk about whether or not you should get an epidural. And this is, I don't know, in the doula world, there's a controversy with it. And rightly so, in a sense. But I'm coming to you with my first birth. I was in the hospital. I had an OB. I was on Pitocin. I got an epidural. Had my water manually broken. All the quote-unquote interventions that you could think about, that was me. I was able to deliver vaginally. I did not have a C-section, but all of the other medical things that go along with a lot of hospital births I did experience. And then my second birth, I had a home birth. Not a home birth. I shouldn't have said that. It was a birth center birth in a home-like setting. And I, was able to labor in the tub. I had it unmedicated. I, just did all the things naturally and was able to deliver vaginally and went home, the next morning. And it was a very different experience. And I'm just going to be honest, I really preferred that experience over my hospital experience. But I will say, whenever I had my hospital experience, I was in a life situation where there was a lot going on. I was very overwhelmed. Without going into too many details, it was just a time where I needed just a lot of confidence in what was going to happen and a lot of predictability in what was going to happen because my life was very unpredictable at the time. And because of that, I had a group of amazing people that surrounded me. I had my friend who was my stand-in doula. And then I had a nurse who had a lot of knowledge about positioning and keeping the pelvis open and things like that. And because I was in that space, I believe that the safety and the oxytocin that was being released because I felt very safe in that moment was what allowed me to, right after I had the epidural, an hour later, I had my son. I only pushed a few times, and I think my body was able to relax in that space where if I were in a birth center space, I still believe that everything would have gone well, but I do believe that the labor process might have lasted a little bit longer because to get my body in a place where it felt safe enough to open up, because the release of oxytocin, so safety is a huge thing. It's very important when we're delivering. There are actually studies that there are animals that when they're giving birth, if they feel unsafe, they actually contract, do the opposite of dilate. They're dilated and then their body goes back so that they can run to a safer place. In the same way, our body does that as well. So I truly believe, and this is what I tell my doula clients too, I truly believe that it is your choice of how you decide to deliver. I I believe that you intuitively know what you need in that moment. If you genuinely think, and not just because of pain, but if you genuinely think that you are in a place of, in a place where a hospital birth in a hospital setting would be a better option for you, that's okay. Now, one thing that I do with my doula clients is I do walk through fears. A lot of women think that they don't handle pain well, so they're going to need an epidural, and that is their reasoning behind, wanting to have a hospital birth, wanting to have an epidural. I do think understanding what labor is truly like, and understanding your fears going into it sometimes can allow you to see, birth is a different sensation that I'm going to have, but it is not necessarily going to be painful, because pain is something that is harming me. Birth is bringing life. So every contraction, every sensation like that you have, even though it might be uncomfortable, it's producing something. And so it's such a different experience that you'll go through than if you were like in pain, if you had broken a bone, or if you had, fallen off of something and hurt yourself. It's not that type of pain. And so I do think, understanding that a little bit better, being educated on stages of labor, what you're going to feel, different comfort measures, all of those things I go over with my clients. And if at the end of the day, I have a client that says, you know what, Anna, we have gone through all of these things. We've gone through my fears. I do feel like I'm at peace with my fears. I'm no longer functioning out of my anxiety. And at the end of all of this, I do still choose to get an epidural. That's okay. I think one reason why I actually got mine, so I had been laboring for 10 hours, and then I threw up, and I didn't know it at the time, but one of my greatest fears is throwing up. And I think once I threw up, I felt unsafe, and I felt like something was wrong. And if I would have known going into that throwing up and pooping or anything, coming out like that, those are actually signs of progress in labor, I think I would have been able to have walked into that with less of a fear and more of a hope when that happened, and saying, this means that I'm getting closer to seeing my baby. But I am not I do think one last thing that is good to know about an epidural, it does increase your chances to have a C-section. Whenever you have different interventions in the hospital, they do put you on different clocks. And so if you don't have baby in a certain amount of time, medically they're trained to start encouraging, thinking about a C-section or whatever. Now, some things can be denied. I would say if it has to do with safety, it's good to really think about that. And yeah, I think there's a lot of fear that people, specifically doulas, and just being honest, that doulas speak out of as well, encouraging people not to get epidurals or to do a birth a certain way because of the fear that they have of, something going wrong. And so if everyone is operating out of, thinking logically and processing through feelings, processing through fears, knowing the risk going into it, I believe that at the end of the day, if you have done all of those steps and that is what you choose to do, that, you were so well supported. And I have had girls, I have never had a client, but I have had friends that are like, I don't want to know anything. Don't tell me any of the statistics. I don't want to know stages of birth. I don't want to know anything. I just want to go in and have this baby. So that's also where some people find themselves too. And as long as you are being intuitive and genuine with yourself, and just working through those things, I believe that, you know, the choice that you make, that is something that you can come to peace with in the end. Even, you know, my hospital birth, that was all the things that I didn't want to have at the beginning. And again, I wasn't super educated on a lot of these things at that point, but you know, that is what I had for my first birth, and I have come to peace with that. And so yeah, I believe that the choice that you make is going to be the choice that one day you come to peace with.